one more video for the day. All right, so lesson 3 in Trig is on page, I believe it begins on page 26. And again, more geometry review, but pretty simple stuff. So in lesson 3, it goes over the Pythagorean Theorem and triangle inequalities. And so here is what they've stated. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then we know it's a right triangle. If a squared plus b squared is less than c squared, meaning that the value of your hypotenuse is greater than the other two sides, then in this case it would be an obtuse triangle. If a squared plus b squared is greater than your hypotenuse squared, it's an acute triangle. So I'll do one example with you and we'll move on because I don't think it's that tough of a concept. So number 1, if the lengths of the sides of a triangle are 7, 5, and 4, is this triangle a right, obtuse, or acute? Okay. Now, know that when you do these problems, remember that the longest side is always C. Okay? So whatever the largest number is, I know that is C. So, and it doesn't matter what order you put the other two legs. So 5 squared plus 4 squared, I'm going to leave this open, is to 7 squared. So I'm going to calculate it first before I put a symbol in there. So 25 plus 16 is to 49. Add these together. 41 is actually less than 49. So according to what I wrote up above, this is an obtuse triangle. Okay? Pretty simple because you're going to base it on this theorem. Okay? So that's the first part. The second part we're going to spend quite a bit more time in. Having to do with similar figures and scale factor. So I just want to make sure I pull the same title. So 3-point C and 3-point D have to do with similar polygons and triangles. So that has to do with similarity. So I know that if they are similar, it means it's the same shape, but it different size. And I know that the sides are proportional. But the angles are congruent. Now, proportional, when I say proportional, I think that there is a scale factor that is involved. And the figure has either been increased or reduced. And so we're going to do a few of these problems in which you're going to have to find like a missing piece. So in example 1, you guys are going to have to, I'm going to have to apologize. Everything's not going to be perfectly drawn. Okay, so here are 2 triangles. I know that these are vertical, so I know these are angles. But I'm just going to tell you that these are similar. I'm going to tell you these angles equal, and I know that these do. Okay, and I'm going to give you the sides. So the side to the small, 4, 5, x, 6, 7, y. And they'd like us to find x and y. Okay, so let's start with x. 5 is to 7 as x is to 6. Now, I know this because of the position. 5 is in between these two angles and 7 is in between these two. So they're in the same location. That's why it's 5 is with 7, not 5 is with 6. Okay? So then I set up, I'm going to use x this time. X must then match this side. X definitely doesn't match the straight sides. Okay? And then to solve, I'm going to simply cross multiply. So 5 times 6 equals 7 times x. And I'll put that cross multiply. So that means 30 is equal to 7x. So divide by 7, and x equals 4.3. Now for y, I'm going to use this same ratio. You can use the same ratio again if you prefer. 5 is to 7 as 4 is to y. And again, I'm going to cross multiply. So 7 times 4 equals 5 times y. So 28 equals 5y. So y is equal to 5.6. So easy peasy, set up your proportion. Just make sure that your pieces match. Next one. We're going to do 2 more. So number 2, I'm going to draw a triangle embedded inside another triangle, which I think are some of the hardest to see. And I know this is, now I know they share this angle, right, because the smaller triangle is inside of the larger triangle. This is 4, this is C, 6, 4, A, B. And you can guess it, they'd like us to find A, B, and C. Doesn't matter what you start with. I'm going to start with what I think is easiest. I think C would be easiest. And I know that this side, 4 matches the C side. So 4 is to C. Notice I'm going from smaller triangle to larger triangle. And you must match that. So that must equal, and then I have to pick from here. I'm going to pick 6 is to 10. Now notice I'm grabbing the bottom of this one and the bottom of the larger one. And the bottom of the larger one would be 10, because it would be 6 plus 4. So that's where I'm getting those numbers. I'm going to cross multiply, and I get 4 times 10 equals 6 times C, which would give me 40 equals 6C. And I'm actually, for this one, I think I ended up, did I end up reducing? No. So C equals 6.6, and the 6 repeats. So that's how I left it. All right, so we have C, and now we could actually use that pair of sides if we chose. Now this is going to sound crazy, but I don't need to do any more proportions. For example, I'm going to draw out this smaller triangle. I know this is 4, and this is 6, and this is A. This is my small triangle. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. 6 squared plus 4 squared equals A squared. So 36 plus 16 equals A squared, which I believe is 52, equals A squared. I'm going to take the square root. Now, I'd like you to have the skill of being able to simplify your radicals. So this is actually 4 times 13, or 2 radical 13 equals A. Okay? Or you could write A equals 7.2. Okay? Now for B, so for B, I know that C is 6.6. Well, this repeating. I know that this here is 10, and this is A plus B, but I know A is 2 root 13 plus B. Now that is one way to do it, but if you would look here, that is pretty complicated, but It's one way to do it. Or I could set up a proportion, and I think in this case, a proportion would actually be easiest. So I'm going to say, or, I'm going to do 6 is to 10 as B, what did I put? 6 is to 10. Why can't I think? 6 is to 10 as 2 radical 13 is to 2 radical 13 plus b. And I'm going to cross multiply. So 6 times 2 root 13 plus b is equal to 10 times 2 root 13. So I have 12 root 13 plus 6b is equal to 20 root 13. I'm going to subtract, so 6b equals 8 root 13, and I'm going to divide by 6, so b equals 4 root 13 over 3. Okay. And then that's all the pieces. Sorry, I had to pause. But there is A, B, and C. All right, last one. What I get for doing 4 videos in one day. Example number 3. Give me 2 triangles side by side. Here's my height. Here's A. Here's B. This is 8. This is 4. And I know they share, or I know that this triangle, they share that angle, and they share this angle. And I'm going to tell you that this is 90 degrees. Okay, and they would like us to find A, B, and H. So I'm going to start with A. Okay, now you have to almost look at these as 2 very different triangles. And it's really, really hard to do. So think of it this way. You have 2 separate. I know this is 90. So I have, if I draw it out for you like this, it might be easier. You have 90, you have A, H, and 4. You also have, that would be 12, B, and A. So if I set it up like that, it might be easier for you to see that A, this hypotenuse, is to this hypotenuse, as the short leg is to this leg. So if I cross multiply, I get 48 equals A squared, square root, A equals 4 root 3. Now from there, it's easy to find H, right? For H, I now know if this is H, this is 4, this is 4 root 13. So I know that 4 squared plus H squared equals 4 root 13 squared. So 16 plus H squared equals 16 times 13. And I don't know that number by heart. Maybe you do. Sorry. This should be 4. This should not be 13. This should be 3. Michelle. Hopefully you're just looking at the notes, not the video. Root 3. Root 3. This would be 3. I know that. H squared plus 16 equals 48. So H squared equals 32. Square root. Square root. I know that H equals 4 root 2. Okay, because this is 16 times 2, so the 16 becomes 4. So there's H. Now all that's left is B, and I can do B the same way. I know this is B, I know this is 12, and I know A is 4 root 3. So I know that 4 root 3 squared plus b squared equals 12 squared. So that's 16 times 3 plus b squared equals 144. We know this is 48, so b squared equals 96. Square root, square root. 96 is the same as 16 times 6, so b equals 4 root 6. Okay, so you have A, B, and H. All right, for homework, for lesson 3, I'm going to write it at the top. You're going to, I don't know if I had you skip anything. You are not going to skip anything. You have to do homework, all problems. Sorry. And that's it.